There's something strange about respect. People don't always lose respect for you because you failed. They don't always lose respect because you made a mistake. And they definitely don't lose respect because you're imperfect. Sometimes, people lose respect for you in a single moment, not because of what happened to you, but because of what you revealed in that moment about how you see yourself. And that's the part nobody really talks about, because most people think respect is about status, money, confidence, or how strong you look on the outside. But a lot of the time, respect is lost much faster, and much deeper than that. It gets lost when people feel that you have abandoned yourself. And here's the unsettling part. A person can smile at you, agree with you, even stay around you, and still internally stop respecting you right there. So let me ask you early on, have you ever felt the exact moment someone's energy changed toward you? Maybe after you over-explained yourself, after you tolerated something you shouldn't have, or after you folded just to keep the peace. What was it for you? Drop that in the comments, because I think a lot of people have lived through that moment and didn't even know how to name it. The 3 reasons people lose respect for you instantly are not always the reasons you think. In fact, one of them can look like kindness, one can look like humility, and one can even look like being the bigger person. But underneath, something else is happening, something Jung understood very well. People are always reacting not just to your behavior, but to the relationship between your persona and your real self. In other words, people can feel when your words and your soul are not standing in the same place. And once they feel that split, respect begins to leak. So let's go straight into it. Reason number 1, people lose respect for you instantly when you repeatedly betray what you clearly feel, not when you're confused, not when you're trying to be thoughtful, but when it's obvious, even to other people, that something bothered you, crossed a line, hurt you, or insulted you, and you instantly rush to pretend it didn't. That changes the energy fast, because people can forgive awkwardness, they can forgive emotion, they can forgive honesty. But when they watch you abandon your own reality in real time, something in them quietly recalculates your position, and this is where it gets deeper. A lot of people think respect is lost when you show emotion. Not true. Respect is usually lost when you feel one thing, say another, and keep doing it so often that everyone around you starts trusting your mask more than your soul. Let's make it real. Imagine someone embarrasses you in front of others. A little jab, a joke. One of those comments that everybody pretends is playful, but the room gets a little weird after it. You felt it. They felt it. The room felt it. But then you smile too hard and say, "Ha, yeah, no, it's fine, you know me," and maybe once, fine. But if this becomes your pattern, people begin to see something. They see that your boundaries are negotiable. They see that your truth can be overridden by discomfort. They see that your need to be liked is stronger than your connection to yourself. And once people notice that, many of them begin to take emotional shortcuts with you, because you have unconsciously told them, if things get uncomfortable, I will betray myself before I inconvenience you. That is a devastating message to send without realizing it. Jung would probably say, this is what happens when the persona becomes too expensive. The persona is the socially acceptable version of you, the agreeable version, the smooth version, the version that wants the room to stay calm, wants everyone to be okay, wants to avoid tension, wants to remain lovable. But the shadow knows when you're lying. And other people often know too. That's the spooky part. People may not consciously say, "Ah yes, I am now detecting a split between this person's social mask and inner truth." Nobody talks like that unless they're in a black turtleneck holding a philosophy book in a candlelit basement. But they feel it. They feel that you didn't stand with yourself. And the moment you don't stand with yourself, many people stop standing as carefully around you too. Now, here's the twist. The issue isn't that you need to become aggressive. It's not that every moment requires confrontation. It's not that respect only belongs to loud people. Actually, some of the most respected people in the room are the quiet ones. But their quietness is different. Their quietness is not self-betrayal. It is chosen. It is anchored. It says, I saw that, I understood it, and I will decide what deserves my energy. That is very different from the nervous smile that says, please don't make this harder, I'll swallow myself if I have to. One creates gravity, the other creates permission, and people know the difference. Here's a dramatic example. You've probably seen two people receive the same disrespect in two totally different ways. The first one instantly scrambles, laughs too hard, explains too much, tries to prove they're chill. You can almost hear the panic doing jumping jacks in their chest. The second one just pauses, not theatrical, not rude, just a pause. Then maybe they say calmly, that didn't sit right with me. Or even more simply, let's not do that. That's it. And suddenly the whole room shifts. Because respect often follows the person who remains connected to themselves under pressure. That's the real thing people are responding to, not perfection, self-contact. And let's be honest, many of us were trained out of that. We were taught to smooth things over, to be low maintenance, to not be dramatic, to keep the peace, to be easy, to be understanding. And those things sound noble, until they become a way of disappearing, because there is a fine line between maturity and self-erasure, a very fine line. And once people sense that you regularly erase yourself, they often stop seeing you as someone they need to handle with care. And wait until we get to the second reason, because it's the one people confuse with being nice all the time, when really it quietly destroys attraction, authority, and respect at the same time. But before that, let this land. If you always abandon what you clearly feel just to stay accepted, people may not always say it out loud, but they start relating to you like someone who can be pushed, and that change can happen instantly. Reason number 2, people lose respect for you instantly. When they sense you need their approval more than you need your own integrity. This one is huge and sneaky, because it doesn't always look weak at first. Sometimes it looks like kindness, sometimes it looks like openness, sometimes it looks like being a good person. But underneath, it's often anxiety dressed in good manners. It's when you start over-explaining your choices, softening your truth, performing humility, shape-shifting, or making yourself smaller, not because it's wise, but because you want to control how people feel about you. That energy gets felt immediately. Because once someone senses that you are managing yourself around their approval, they unconsciously understand that they now have leverage. This is why some people lose respect for you right after you start explaining too much. And that surprises people. Because they think explanation creates understanding. Sometimes it does. But desperate explanation often creates the opposite. It tells people, I am not settled in my own position until you validate it. And that instantly changes your weight in the interaction. Think about how often this happens. You say no to something, a totally reasonable no, but then you start decorating it. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. It's just that this week has been crazy, and I've been tired, and I also have this thing tomorrow, and I didn't want you to think. And now your clean boundary becomes a courtroom defense. Why? Because somewhere underneath, you're not just communicating, you're negotiating your right to have a boundary. And the moment people feel that, respect starts slipping. Because now your boundary sounds optional. Jung had this idea that much of human behavior is driven by what remains unconscious. And one unconscious driver in a lot of people is this: if I can keep everyone pleased with me, I will be safe. That's a childhood strategy that many adults wear like a polished personality. But safety bought through self-abandonment always has a cost. And the cost is presence. Because approval-seeking energy is oddly loud, even when the person is being soft. People can feel when your words are trying to reach into them and pull out reassurance. They can feel when you are not simply speaking, but fishing. Fishing for acceptance, fishing for confirmation, fishing for "you're still good, you're still liked, you're still okay." And here's the brutal truth. The more visibly you need that reassurance, the less solid you often appear. Not because needing love is bad, not because wanting to be understood is weak, but because respect grows around people who seem able to remain themselves, whether approval comes or not. That's what people trust. Let's go a little darker. Some people are not kind when they sense this in you. Some people become more demanding, more testing, more dismissive. Why? Because insecurity in others often sniffs out insecurity in you, like a bloodhound with a psychology degree. The moment they feel that you need them to feel okay about yourself, some of them start using that. Suddenly they're slower to reply, colder in tone, more ambiguous, more critical, more entitled, not always because they're evil, sometimes because human beings are deeply tempted by imbalance. If they feel you are over-invested in their opinion, they instinctively sit higher in the dynamic, and respect drops. Here's a small but telling example. Two people make the same decision. One says, "I won't be continuing with this." The other says, "I mean, unless you think I should. I just feel bad. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking." Same decision. Totally different energy. One sounds like a person in contact with themselves. The other sounds like they've handed over authorship of their own life. And people feel authorship. They feel when you own yourself. They feel when you don't. That's why some of the most respected people are not the loudest, funniest, prettiest, richest, or most impressive. They are simply the least available for inner bribery. You cannot easily make them betray themselves for applause, and that gives them an unusual kind of presence. Now, let me make this relatable in a slightly jovial way. You know that moment when you send a message, then immediately send another one explaining the first message, then another one clarifying your tone. And by the fourth message, you are basically writing a hostage note to your own dignity. Yeah, that. We've all had our "why did I type a trilogy when a sentence would have done" era. But repeated enough, that habit teaches people something dangerous, that you don't fully trust your own stance unless they stamp it approved. And when that becomes obvious, respect leaves the room quietly, not with a bang, with a sigh. Now here's the deeper Jungian twist. If your life is run by the need to be approved of, then your center is outside you. And when your center is outside you, your personality becomes highly adaptable but poorly rooted. You become easy to influence, easy to guilt, easy to steer, easy to confuse. That may keep you liked in the short term, but it rarely keeps you respected, because people respect rootedness, even when they don't agree with it. And the third reason might be the most uncomfortable of all, because it's the one that makes people look at you and think, this person is handing their power away and calling it innocence. And once that happens, respect can vanish almost instantly. Reason number 3. People lose respect for you instantly when you keep refusing responsibility for the energy you invite, tolerate, or repeat. This one is deep. And I don't mean blame, I mean responsibility. There's a difference. Sometimes people lose respect for you not because bad things happen to you, but because they keep watching you participate in the same patterns while acting like you have no part in any of them. That is hard for people to respect. Again, Not because life is fair, not because everything is your fault, not because some people aren't genuinely mistreated, but because there is a moment where repeated helplessness starts to feel like unconscious cooperation, and people can feel that. For example, you keep going back to the same kind of manipulative friend, the same disrespectful relationship, the same workplace dynamic, the same humiliating setup, the same obvious liar, the same user in different shoes, same circus, different clown. At first, people empathize, then they worry. Then, if it continues long enough without reflection, something changes. They begin to feel that you are more committed to the identity of the one this always happens to than to the painful work of change. And respect starts to drop. Because respect is not built on never struggling. It is built on the willingness to become conscious. Jung's whole life work pointed toward this, the idea that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That line hits hard for a reason, because many people keep calling patterns bad luck that are actually unexamined loyalties, wounds, cravings, or fears. And when other people can clearly see the pattern, but you keep performing innocence inside it, they start pulling back internally. They may still care, but respect weakens. Let's make this very human. You know someone who is constantly saying, "I don't know why this always happens to me. I don't know why people keep treating me like this. I don't know why I always end up here." And after a while you start thinking, okay, but what are you not seeing? What are you rewarding? What are you excusing? What are you afraid to confront? Why are the red flags getting VIP access? That doesn't mean the person deserves mistreatment. It means that unconscious repetition makes people doubt whether you are truly participating in your own rescue. And this applies in smaller ways too. People lose respect when you complain constantly but never decide. When you want sympathy more than change. When you keep asking for advice you never intend to use. When every crisis becomes your identity. Because at some point, people stop hearing pain and start hearing attachment. Attachment to chaos, attachment to victimhood, attachment to familiar suffering, attachment to the self-image of being the misunderstood one. And that's where Jung gets almost eerie. Because sometimes the ego would rather remain injured than become responsible. Why? Because responsibility is frightening. If I admit I keep choosing this, then I have to face myself. If I admit I ignored the signs, then I have to confront my hunger. If I admit I stayed because I feared being alone, then I have to meet that fear. That's shadow work. And a lot of people would rather tell the same sad story than enter that cave. But others can sense when a person is hiding from themselves. They can sense when accountability is being dodged. And the result is subtle but real. Respect fades. Now let me surprise you a little. Owning your part in a pattern does not make people respect you less. It usually makes them respect you more, even if your choices were messy, even if your judgment was off, even if you ignored enough red flags to open your own theme park. People respect honesty. They respect a person who can say, "I missed what I needed to see. I tolerated too much. I wanted this so badly I lied to myself. I kept hoping instead of seeing. I have to change what I allow." That kind of honesty has weight. That kind of honesty rebuilds dignity fast. Because self-respect does not come from pretending you were never foolish. It comes from refusing to remain unconscious. And that is the deeper point of this whole conversation. The people who keep respect in hard situations are not the ones who never get hurt, never fumble, never overtrust, never misread, never break down. They are the ones who return to consciousness. They return to themselves. They are willing to see what role they played without collapsing into shame. That is power. Not spotless behavior, not coolness, consciousness. And once that consciousness arrives, your whole energy changes. You stop sounding like a person begging life to explain itself to you. You start sounding like a person who is finally willing to read the pattern. That shift is magnetic. People feel it instantly. So if we bring all of this together, the 3 reasons people lose respect for you instantly are deeper than most self-help videos make them sound. It's not just be confident. It's not just talk less. It's not just have boundaries. It's deeper. People lose respect quickly when they feel, first, that you keep betraying what you clearly feel. Second, that you need their approval more than your own integrity. And third, that you keep refusing responsibility for the patterns you tolerate and repeat. And if that sounds intense, it's because it is. But it's also freeing. Because once you understand this, respect stops being some mysterious thing other people randomly give or take. You begin to see that much of respect is shaped by the relationship you have with yourself. People read that relationship constantly, in your pauses, in your tone, in what you laugh off, in what you over-explain, in what you keep tolerating, in how quickly you desert yourself when pressure enters the room. That's what they're reading. And Jung's contribution here is powerful. The goal is not to become impressive. The goal is to become integrated, to have your outer behavior and inner truth stop living in separate houses. Because when those two finally meet, your presence changes. You don't have to force respect so much. You stop leaking it. And let's be real, this work is not glamorous. Sometimes it means saying the uncomfortable thing. Sometimes it means disappointing people. Sometimes it means admitting, I knew better, and still stayed. Sometimes it means dropping the sweet little performance that kept you acceptable but disconnected. And yes, some people won't like the new version of you. That's fine. A lot of people preferred the version of you that was easier to override. But the moment you stop overriding yourself, everything changes. The room changes, the pattern changes, the people change, or at least your ability to see them does. So let me leave you with the real question. What do you think makes people lose respect faster? Over-explaining, tolerating disrespect, or refusing to learn from repeated patterns? And if you've lived through one of these, which one hit hardest in your own life? That's the comment I really want to read. And if this spoke to something you've been quietly realizing lately, comment, I stop betraying myself. That one sentence says a lot.